All right, folks, today we're going to talk about why the 4% rule is actually not that accurate. And we shouldn't be using that for our retirement projections. And yes, I know you've heard the 4% rule, the golden standard, the rule of thumb. I'm telling you, it's not that accurate, and we shouldn't actually be using it. Now, here's why. So, if we go and look up articles on the 4% rule, you're going to see different stats out there. You're going to see people like Morningstar, right? You've heard of Morningstar before. Say it's not really the 4% rule anymore, it's more like the 3.8. You're gonna hear companies like Fidelity come out and say it's more like, 3.2. Vanguard, right, might say it's 3.3. All these different articles on what it actually is. And that's people just throwing out, if you're in a random portfolio, you should be able to be pulling out 3 to 4% a year. Well, let's do the math on that really quick. If we have $1 million and we're pulling out, we'll call it 3.5%. We'll call it what it is, somewhere between 3 and 4. That's only $35,000 a year. Now, for a lot of you, you're probably like, geez, that's not a lot of money. I would agree with you. It's really not. So, when it comes to this, why is this 3 or 4% rule in place? And I'll tell you why. It's because we're kind of lazy. We don't want to actually have a plan that gives you more income or whatever it may be. These companies can't meet you individually and tell you, yeah, you can pull out 5 or 6 actually here. You can pull out 7 if we invest it like this. That's not out there. So here we're going to go over what can you actually do to pull out more than 4% and not run out of money. So we're going to cover this in detail today. And I think it's going to be very helpful for people out there who are trying to figure out how much money can you actually pull from your accounts. 4% is a good place to start, but it's not where you want to finish, right? You want to know exactly what that number looks like. I'm going to give you a scenario here of a client. We're going to call them Bob, right, for this kind of model we're doing here. So we have Bob here. And Bob, let's say, has $1 million in his account. Okay. And Bob needs, about $50,000 a year, right, from his retirement accounts to live. And after taxes, right, Bob is an IRA, 401k. He needs to pull out more like 60 to get the 50. So already you're probably thinking, geez, math wise, that's 6% that Bob needs to pull out every year. How is he going to be able to do this? Right? The 4% rule, that's 50% more than what the 4% rule is telling us. Well, here, let's find out. So 6%, what do we do here? Now, first, we need to have an account that we can actually pull from without the risk of running out of money. All right, so that's a big thing there. But losing in the markets is why they say the 4% rule. If the market drops down, we got $1 million and we lose 20%, now we're at 800,000. And if we pulled 60K out of here the same year, we're at $740,000 all in one year. We have lost a fourth of our portfolio. Now, if we keep taking 60K out, we're going to run out of money pretty quick. So, what does that mean? Well, part of that game plan is where we pull our money from. And in the years we pull our money, the market's down, we need an account that might not be down. You might have seen our fiscal house video before, where we're how we organize our portfolio. And one part of that portfolio, you draw a small house here, we have our foundation, walls, and roof. If you haven't watched that video, definitely check it out. Now, with this, the foundation, right? This is safe money, money we can't lose. Okay. Typically, we pull out our income from here because it's predictable and we know what that return should look like. If it's in a CD, a fixed annuity, or a treasury, we know what that looks like there and we can pull accordingly. So that's the key, knowing how much we can pull. So to give you an example, in Bob's scenario, let's say we know, give or take, it depends on interest rates and where they are today. This video is in 2024. Let's say we can reasonably earn 3.5%, and that's low. We can probably earn like 5 today and fix that. Let's say it's 3.5 for argument's sake, make it lower. 3.5% on that foundation piece that we have there. And with that money, we can take this account, unless we need $60,000 from it. Well, what if we took, right, $700,000, and we had 300 over here that was invested in the market. Okay, 700 is in our foundation and our walls, more income driven within there. Now it's been different kinds of investments all throughout there. But let's say we're gonna pull from here. And we know, all right, we pull $60,000 out of there every single year. That's way more than 4% of 700, by the way. And we know this account eventually is going to get to zero. Now, this is kind of in a worst case scenario. But let's say this account, all right, over 18 years gives us 60,000. Now, Bob is 65. Didn't mention that earlier. He's 65 years old. So for 18 years, this money lasts. Okay. So we go from Bob, he's 75, plus 8. We're looking at he's 83 years old. Okay. And this money runs out. Now, Bob's still alive. Maybe he has 7 more years to live, 2 more years, 10 more years, whatever it may be. But that wasn't all his money. Bob still had $300,000 over here. And what did we do there? Well, we invested that money over that time period. We weren't doing nothing with it. So as we were investing that money, we were getting some returns. And let's say we were able to do around 8% a year, because we weren't conservative over here. We could be aggressive. We're not touching this money for a while. And 18 years goes by. Now, for those who don't know, we have something called the Rule of 72. Meaning if we earn an 8% return, right, a year, our money should double every 9 years. Okay, simple math. So we know our 300 is going to actually double twice in this time period. So we're going to go from 300 to 600. And then another 9 years, we should be at 1.2 million. So yeah, Bob ran out of money with the 700,000. But with his other money that we saved up and invested over time, he's now 83 with $1.2 million that he can pull from. Now, we can just do the same thing over again if we like and say, well, we're pulling 60K out. Let's take the 700, right? We get it for another 18 years. And then Bob, on this end of things, right, will actually have a lot more money, right, 18 years from now, because it's growing. But you'll see Bob, he's 83. He might not even need 60 grand anymore. He might be traveling as much, might change. But if he lives another 18 years, he'll be completely fine. He can live 101 years old, and he's going to have even more money in his pocket. Let's do the math, just for fun's sake. So we took 700, okay? This board's getting a little full. All right, so we're going to erase some of this stuff here. So now, right, Bob's 83. So he's 83 years old. And we do the same thing. So we take 700 of the 1.2. And we know, great, we're getting 60K over an 18-year time period. Okay. Now, he has 600,000 now in this other side. Let's say it's still doing 8%. That money's going to double 2 more times. So if Bob lives, he's 101 years old. All right. He goes to 101. Yes, we're going to run out of money here. If those returns are 3.5, they could be a lot more, and they might not run out. Keep that in mind there. This $600,000 is going to double twice. It's going to 1.2, then it's going to go to 2.4 million that Bob is going to end up. And he's taking, right, in his scenario, 6% a year compared to 4%. And again, this goes to simple planning. There's more to this, of course, like what investments you actually use. But using simple planning, keeping it simple, Bob can retire living off 6% and still have $2.4 million in the bank without really ever being at risk of losing money. And that's the key here, folks, is having a game plan to actually navigate these waters. So if you have any questions, give us a call at the firm here. More than happy to help you out. Also, subscribe and like the video. See you folks next time.